Okay. So question 3, which hypothesis involves equality? That would be the null hypothesis.
Yep. All right. So let's see. Question 4. Remember that the p-value is the probability of attaining a sample statistic at least as extreme as the one that was actually observed. So when computing the p-value, which hypothesis do you assume to be true? And we assume the null hypothesis is true.
Yep. Okay, number 5. Suppose the null hypothesis is 10. Which of the following represents the alternative hypothesis for a two-tailed test? And that would be the alternative hypothesis is not equal to 10, or the mean of the alternative hypothesis.
That's correct. That's what I got. I don't know if it's correct, but it's what I got.
Yeah, that's right.
I know. All right. Which of the following represents an alternative hypothesis for a left-tailed test? And that would be 10 is greater than.
So when it talks about tails here in this lesson, it's talking about the applet. So
yeah.
The tails would be like the left tail would be to the left of the hypothesis or less than.
So the hypothesis is less than?
Yeah, so for the alternative hypothesis, if it's a left-tailed test, the mean would be less than.
I gotcha. So 10 is less than.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I got confused on that one.
Yeah, I had to go back and read it just because, I was thinking about like skew of a histogram.
Well, I was looking on the video he showed, or one of the videos. I watched one of the videos. Where is it? He had a picture of, like, at the very beginning of, which one was it?
Yeah.
And he has, let's see. Oh, you know what? That's right. You're right. I looked at it wrong.
Yeah, there was, where was it? Oh yeah, there's a little chart in the book. It just says, yeah, left tail. The alternative hypothesis is less than the null hypothesis. And then, of course, the opposite for right-tailed would be that it's greater than, which is number 7.
Okay. All right. So, which relationship will result in failing to reject the null hypothesis? And it's the p-value is greater than.
Yep. If it's greater than the null hypothesis, then
the null hypothesis. Yep.
It's true. Number 9, which relationship would result in rejecting the null hypothesis? And that'd be the opposite. If the p-value is less than the level of, what was it called? Level of significance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then it's rejected.
All right. So the insurance company is reviewing its current policy rates. When originally setting the rates, they believe the average claim was about $1,500. They're concerned that the true mean is actually higher than this. So which of the following would be the appropriate alternative hypothesis? So their alternative would be the average claim amount is greater than 1,500.
Yep. Which of the following would be the appropriate null hypothesis? And that would be that the average claim amount would be equal to 1,500.
Yep. All right. Okay, so the insurance company assumes the distribution of the sample mean is normal. Is this a good assumption? And I put, it is a good assumption since the sample size is large.
Yep, that's what I got. That is correct. And then which theorem or law justifies that answer? would be the central limit theorem.
Correct. All right. Which of the following is the test statistic as defined in the lesson? And I thought I read that it was the Z.
Yep, the Z-score. Okay. Let's see. Number 15. Historical mean.
This one I struggled on a little bit.
Yeah, I actually originally got this wrong, but I'm pretty sure I got it wrong because I forgot to put the negative.
Okay.
So the historical mean of sales receipts at a grocery store is $150 with a standard deviation of $40. Store manager suspects the average has decreased. She sets up a hypothesis test with the hypotheses mean, or the null hypothesis 150. Alternative is less than 150. She'll use the level of significance 0.05. She then takes a simple random sample of 36 sales receipts from her store and computes a sample mean of $144. What is the Z-score associated with this test? So you'll take the sample mean of 144 minus the population mean of 150, or -6.
That's what I got there.
And then you'll take the standard deviation for the sample size. So you'll take the standard deviation of 40 divided by the square root of 36, which is 6. And that should be 6.66 repeating. So -6 divided by 6.667 is -0.900.
-0.900. I think I did there is I got confused because he says she took a simple random sample of 36.
Mm-hmm.
So I did the square root of 36,
yeah,
thinking that was the sample size.
Oh, so I see.
I think that's where I got confused.
So then did you take the square root of 6 then for the...
Yeah.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, so I mean, my answer, I'm like, that was like -722 point. I was like, what? Yeah. I was like, I'm doing something wrong here. So
yeah, so 36 would be equal to n, so you take the square root of n.
Gotcha.
Yep.
All right. So what is the p-value associated with the z-score from the previous round? So obviously, since I didn't get the last one, so do we put that so let's see.
So you just put -0.900 from the z-score.
So what's the p? The p-score is which do you shade?
The p-value would be associated with, so we were finding the alternative. So it was a left tail test.
So we shade the left.
The left tail. Mm-hmm.
So that's 0.184.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah. I just didn't add that negative. Pretty sure I got the rest of them right. So number 17, what inference would you make about the null hypothesis for this problem? So since the p-value is greater than the level of acceptance, would be that we would fail to reject the null hypothesis.
Yeah. Because it's like, what's greater, more than 2 than you?
I think it's 0.05. Yeah, so...
Or yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry.
Yeah, 0.184 is greater than 0.05. So you'd fail to reject the null hypothesis.
All right. So what is your conclusion? So the conclusion for this problem is since we failed to reject the null hypothesis, it'd probably be we have sufficient evidence that the true population mean is 150.
So that would be our conclusion if we were trying to prove that the true population is 150.
I gotcha.
So we actually have insufficient evidence that the true population is less than 150. because that's what we were trying to prove, is that it was less than 150. Since we couldn't do that, that would be the conclusion. The third one there. There are two types of errors that can be made when performing a hypothesis test. Which one involves rejecting the null hypothesis when the null hypothesis is true? And that would be a type 1 error.
Okay. A researcher decided that instead of using a level of significance of 0.05, he will use level of significance of 0.01. Which of the following will be true? So, is it the probability of a type 1 error will increase? No, it won't increase.
Yeah, so the level of significance is the probability of a type 1 error occurring. Mm-hmm. So if we decrease the probability of the type 1 error occurring, that will automatically increase the probability of a type 2 error occurring.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Got it.
So question 21, if the level of, I keep forgetting what it's called, significance, is 0.05.
The stupid symbols, I'm always like thrown off.
I know, me too. So if the level of significance is 0.05, compute the probability of committing a type 1 error. So the probability of a type 1 error is the level of significance. So it'd be 0.05.
Well, that was easy.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Cool. Do you have any questions? Do you want to go over anything else?
No, I think you explained everything I didn't get, so should be all right now.
Yeah, some of it was just kind of like hard to. I feel like the way they describe it like is not the easiest way to describe it. But I guess that's why it's its own thing. I guess it's marketable. Otherwise, everyone would know statistics if they said it in an easy way.
That's true. Right on. All right, man.
Cool.
Well, have a good weekend, and we'll talk to you next week. I'll set up everything for next week. So.
All right. Cool. We'll see you next week.